A young man named David sits in a small cafe, doing his best to impress a beautiful woman nearby. Before he can make much progress, his mentor, Peter, quietly joins him. Calm and composed, Peter reminds him that personal feelings should never mix with the work they do. In the world of espionage, emotions can be dangerous, the kind of weakness that can get people killed. He even points out someone in the distance taking photos of them, a subtle reminder that they are always being watched. David grows uneasy, but Peter simply smiles, telling him that if he really wants affection, he should just get a dog. At that time, both men are still active CIA agents preparing for a mission to protect an ambassador. Peter operates on the ground while David provides sniper support from a nearby building. To keep their cover believable, they switch roles briefly, then move according to plan. From his high vantage point, David scans the area, analyzing potential threats and keeping Peter updated. But he senses something is off. The setup feels too risky and the backup team too thin. He suggests aborting the mission, but Peter insists they continue. Moments later, tension erupts in the crowd below when a man behaves suspiciously. Peter warns David not to take the shot, especially with a child running nearby. But before either of them can react, the man opens fire on Peter. David is forced to shoot, taking down the attacker. Peter survives thanks to his bulletproof vest. But tragedy strikes when the child who had been running moments earlier is caught in the crossfire and killed instantly. And that changed everything. This is the November Man. 5 years later, Peter has retired from the CIA and is living a quiet life along the coast of Italy. One day, he receives an unexpected call from someone claiming that an important person wants to meet him. That person turns out to be Hanley, his former superior at the agency. Hanley brings disturbing news. Several former CIA operatives who once worked with Peter have been found dead. The agency believes the killer is a Russian assassin named Alexa, who is allegedly working for Arkady Fedorov, a powerful politician now running for president of Russia. Fedorov, Hanley explains, is eliminating anyone who knows about his dark past, including evidence of war crimes committed in Chechnya. Peter initially refuses to get involved, saying those days are behind him. But his resolve changes when Hanley shows him a photo of Natalia Ulanova, Peter's former lover, who is now an undercover agent embedded close to Fedorov. Natalia possesses vital information that could destroy Fedorov's political ambitions and expose his crimes. She also knows the identity of someone who holds the key to revealing his past. Natalia refuses to speak to anyone except Peter, which is why Hanley needs him to bring her in personally. In Moscow, Arkady Fedorov prepares for a major press conference at the Parliament building. His assistant Natalia stays close by, calm and professional on the surface. But behind that composure, she's secretly carrying out a dangerous mission. While Fedorov addresses the crowd, Natalia slips away into his private office. She quickly opens his safe, photographing several classified documents and a picture of a young girl. Before closing everything back as if nothing happened. Moments later, Fedorov returns, but something feels off. When he notices his safe key left on the desk, suspicion strikes. He checks inside and immediately realizes someone has broken in. By then, Natalia is already on the run, racing toward her extraction point. At the U.S. Embassy in Belgorod, Hanley and the CIA team are tracking her movements and preparing a rescue. Among the field agents is David Mason, tasked with covering the operation from a distance. Everything should go according to plan, but the situation turns chaotic when Natalia's cover is blown. Russian agents swarm the area, forcing her to abandon her car and flee on foot. As the chase tightens, Peter suddenly appears out of nowhere and helps her escape. He throws open his car door, pulls her inside, and speeds away. Natalia is stunned to see him after all these years, not realizing the CIA has no idea he's even there. Hanley had secretly reached out to Peter behind everyone's back. During the escape, Natalia brings up their daughter Lucy, asking if she's safe. But before Peter can say much, things take a darker turn. At CIA headquarters, Agent Perry, who's overseeing the mission, orders Natalia's elimination, fearing her intel could end up in enemy hands. Peter refuses to follow that directive. Desperate, he demands to know who holds the key to Fedorov's greatest secret. Weak and shaken, Natalia finally reveals the name Mila Filipova. Peter immediately relays it to Hanley, but within minutes, everything falls apart. A CIA strike team opens fire on their vehicle, and from a sniper position above, David joins the assault. The car spins out of control and crashes hard. Natalia is gravely wounded. With her final breath, she hands Peter her phone. Overcome with grief and rage, Peter swears vengeance. He launches a counterattack on the CIA convoy, taking out several agents in the chaos, though David survives. The two men aim their weapons at each other, but stop short of pulling the trigger. In the end, they both walk away. David destroys the CIA van to erase any trace of the mission.
Who's goddamn devil? What was he doing here?
Meanwhile, Peter takes a taxi, opens Natalia's phone, and finds crucial photos hidden inside. He removes the memory card, then tosses the phone out the window to make sure no one can track him. Sometime later, Peter and Alice manage to track down a man known by the name Lebedev, a notorious nightclub owner with a criminal past. Peter knows him from long ago when Lebedev worked under Arkady Fedorov during the war in Chechnya. They meet in his club, where the music and lights hide the tension between them. Peter explains that Fedorov is eliminating anyone who might expose his crimes from that time. He asks why Fedorov is killing his old associates and what he is trying to keep hidden. Lebedev tells him that Chechnya is rich in oil, a resource the Russian government desperately wants to control. Before the Second Chechen War began, there was a massive explosion in a building filled with Russian soldiers. The tragedy became the excuse for the war. But privately, Lebedev reveals something shocking, that the attack was actually orchestrated by Fedorov himself, with help from the CIA. Peter is stunned. He never imagined his own agency could be part of such a dark conspiracy. Meanwhile, back at CIA headquarters, Agent Celia tries to question Hanley about his connection to Peter, but Hanley grows defensive and refuses to answer. Elsewhere, Agent Perry hands David a flash drive containing a report written by Peter. When David reads it at home, he finds photos of Peter with Natalia, the same man who once warned him never to mix work with personal relationships. The report also describes David as reckless, disobedient, and unfit for field duty. Furious, David feels deeply betrayed. Later that evening, a small distraction breaks his anger. A neighbor's cat wanders into his house, and as he returns it, David finally meets the neighbor, a woman named Sarah. At the same time, Peter and Alice stay on the move, buying new phones to avoid tracking and discussing how to protect Mila, the mysterious woman connected to Fedorov's secrets. Peter then breaks into a vacant apartment, grabs a bottle of liquor, and takes a moment to collect his thoughts. From the window, he spots David and Sarah getting into a taxi together across the street. Days pass and David begins to relax. He and Sarah are seen at a nightclub, enjoying music and conversation as he tries to forget his job for a while. Elsewhere, Alice accidentally says a word in Russian, catching Peter off guard. She explains that both her parents were university professors who taught her the language when she was young. David and Sarah grow closer, sharing quiet moments in his apartment filled with warmth and comfort. But Peter's already preparing to move on. As he gets dressed, he tells Alice that she cannot stay with him. He gives her some cash and a phone, insisting she go into hiding before things get worse. The next morning, David wakes up to find Sarah gone. He checks his phone and sees a message from her number. As he walks toward the kitchen, his blood runs cold. Peter's already there, pointing a gun at Sarah's head. David tries to calm things down, but Peter keeps pushing him, taunting him with words that terrify Sarah. He tells David that deep down, he's still deciding whether she deserves to be saved. Peter forces Sarah to ask David that same question, and when David hesitates, Peter says his silence has already answered it. But when David finally shouts that she is worth saving, Peter calls it his final lesson, a lesson to stop caring about those who die in the line of duty. David argues that he never wanted to shoot Natalia in Moscow, that he was following orders and had no choice. Peter doesn't buy it. He presses a knife to Sarah's throat, leaving his gun on the table. David pleads for him to stop and reaches for the weapon, but Peter is testing him, pushing him to his breaking point. In a final act of cruelty, Peter stabs Sarah in the thigh, severing an artery, and walks away without looking back. Panic takes over. David tries to stop the bleeding and calls for help. Minutes later, the ambulance arrives and Sarah is rushed to the hospital. She survives, but the scar left on David runs much deeper. Meanwhile, Fedorov attends an important conference, meeting first with his assassin, Alexa, for new instructions. In another part of the city, a journalist named Edgar returns home and unexpectedly encounters Alice. She's ready to reveal everything she knows about Fedorov. Alice tells him who Mila really is and begs him to help expose Fedorov's crimes. But before they can act, Alexa emerges from the shadows and stabs Edgar.
Liked her.
Wounded but still conscious, he holds her back just long enough for Alice to escape. Soon after, David reviews old photos of Peter and realizes something shocking. Peter and Natalia had a daughter, a secret even the CIA never uncovered. At a hidden CIA facility, Peter confronts Hanley face to face. He demands to know why he was brought back when Natalia herself had no knowledge of it. Hanley finally confesses, revealing that Natalia had a witness to the Chechnya massacre, where the United States was secretly involved in the bombing that started the war. He also admits that the CIA officer working with Fedorov, the one who ordered Natalia's execution, was not him but Agent Perry. Hanley goes on to explain that Mila is actually the daughter of two university professors who once taught Russian. In that moment, Peter pieces everything together, realizing that the woman he knows as Alice has been Mila all along. Meanwhile, David informs Agent Perry that Peter has a daughter and shows him a photo of Peter with Lucy. Curious, he runs a facial recognition scan on Alice and starts realizing the truth, that the woman they've been chasing is actually Mila Filipova. At that moment, Mila is on her way to a hotel in Belgorod when Peter calls her. He tells her he knows who she really is and warns her not to go near Fedorov, but Mila ignores the warning and heads straight to Fedorov's apartment. Inside, she enters the bathroom and pauses. Memories from her childhood come flooding back. Memories of the night Fedorov murdered her entire family and spared her only because he thought she was deaf. Elsewhere, the CIA finally uncovers the same truth, that Alice is Mila in disguise. The real Alice had died 4 years earlier. Back in the hotel, Mila shatters the bathroom mirror and grips one of the broken shards like a blade. She walks out and confronts Fedorov, pressing the glass against his neck. Fedorov recognizes her instantly and taunts her, saying that if she truly wanted him dead, she would have done it long ago. He toys with her mind, manipulating her emotions until she hesitates, then suddenly turns the tables and throws her onto the bed. Not long after, Peter arrives at the hotel and fights his way through Fedorov's guards, taking them down one by one. He bursts into the room where Mila and Fedorov are struggling and helps her up. Peter urges her to record Fedorov's confession on her phone, forcing him to admit his war crimes and name the CIA contact who worked with him. Fedorov refuses, so Peter pulls the trigger on a deadly game of Russian roulette. Under pressure and terrified, Fedorov finally breaks, revealing that his CIA ally is Hanley, not Agent Perry.
I'm running out.
Who was the American agent?
Hanley.
Was it this guy in the middle?
The revelation shocks Peter. Hanley had lied to him all along. Mila recognizes Hanley's face from the photos Peter showed her and confirms that he was indeed the man who worked with Fedorov. As they leave the room, CIA agents swarm the hallway. Gunfire erupts. Peter fights his way through while David arrives at the scene but fails to catch him. Before escaping, Peter gives Mila a key card, telling her to use it to reach safety, then disappears into the chaos. David follows Peter deep underground, where the two finally clash in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. After a tense struggle, Peter overpowers him, choking him unconscious, and leaves Alice's phone beside his body. Later at CIA headquarters, David recovers and examines the phone. On it, he finds a video of Fedorov's confession. He decides to deliver it to Agent Perry, but when he arrives, he's shocked to find someone else waiting for him. It's Hanley. Hanley tells him to sit down and listen. Meanwhile, Peter meets Mila again at the hotel and urges her to disappear before it's too late. He tells her that running is still better than dying for nothing. During their brief talk, Peter admits that he's no longer a spy, just a former agent trying to make things right after years of mistakes. He reaches for his phone and tries to call his daughter, but the voice that answers isn't hers. It's Hanley. That's when Peter realizes Hanley has kidnapped Lucy. Peter warns him not to hurt her, but Hanley coldly explains that David was the one who found the girl and handed her over. Hanley then makes his move. He offers Peter a deal, Lucy's freedom in exchange for Mila. Peter instructs Mila to go to the train station, book 3 tickets, and prepare for their escape, while he goes to face Hanley himself. When the two men meet, Hanley lays out his grand plan. By controlling Fedorov, he claims they can control Russia. Once Fedorov becomes president, Hanley plans to force him into joining NATO, giving the United States the perfect excuse to extend its military power deep into the Middle East under the banner of global security. At the same time, Mila arrives at an internet cafe and begins writing an article under Edgar's name, exposing Fedorov's war crimes and CIA involvement. But Alexa has already tracked her down. Peter, unaware of this, tells Hanley that Mila is at the train station, prompting Hanley to send David and a team of agents to capture her. However, David has now realized the truth. Hanley is the real traitor. During the mission, he locks one of the agents inside a vehicle and crashes it into a wall, killing him instantly.
Slow the fucking car down!
Seatbelt.
Stop the vehicle! Right now!
Then he heads off to rescue Lucy. Meanwhile, Mila spots Alexa entering the cafe and bolts for the door. Alexa chases her down, gun in hand, but just as she's about to shoot, Mila fights back, striking her with a metal scope. Alexa tumbles down a staircase, losing her weapon. Mila picks up the gun but hesitates. Seeing that Alexa is no longer a threat, she chooses to walk away. Elsewhere, David storms Hanley's hideout, taking down his guards one by one. Peter corners Hanley at gunpoint. He has every reason to kill him, but decides not to. Instead, he turns Hanley over to David, who now sees him for what he truly is. Peter finally reunites with Lucy, and together they make their way to the train station, where Mila is waiting. Before leaving, Mila finishes her report and sends it under Edgar's name, ensuring the truth will reach the world. In the aftermath, Mila testifies before government officials, revealing how Fedorov murdered her family and how Hanley, through the CIA, helped orchestrate the bombing that sparked the Second Chechen War. The story spreads across global news, destroying Fedorov's campaign and reputation. In the final scene, Fedorov, still denying everything, boards a luxurious yacht with a young woman, confident that he's escaped justice. But as the ship sails into open waters, a single gunshot rings out. Fedorov falls, ending his life. So the moral of the story is, if your boss tells you not to mix work with emotions, maybe listen to him, unless you want your love life to end with a car crash, a conspiracy, and an angry Russian politician.